Yeah, well, thanks. I'm Russell Jones, and I've got, I think, vast experience in the war on drugs. I've been a police officer, narcotics detective, DEA task force. I worked intelligence in Central America during Iran-Contra. I've worked in the Soviet Union as their guest, looking at their problems, and I've handled drugs and narcotics. Red China. I've been a forensic expert in court on the physiological and psychological effects of drugs. I sensed, back when I was working with DEA, I began to sense, as an undercover narcotics officer, that there was something wrong with the policy. And it was a slow, I did not have an epiphany, but it was a slow, gradual process. And after I left law enforcement, after Iran-Contra in the late 80s, I began speaking to Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, service organizations, and of course, I didn't get a real good reception back then. They thought the war on drugs was going strong and it was making progress. But yeah, I've been doing this now for 20-something years, and the difference is fantastic. When I speak to Rotary clubs or Lions clubs, and I go to colleges and universities all over the United States, and people come up and say, I agree. And they're not necessarily ready to go and support legalization, but they're definitely ready to look at medical marijuana. They're ready to look at harm reduction policies, and all these are incremental steps that we need to be taken to get to that point where we've taken control of this drug trade. And this is what I want to do. I want to get the control of the drug trade out of the hands of the drug cartels, because that's where the real problem is. So the problem is not drugs. The problem is not people under the influence of drugs. The problem is the drug cartels. So I've seen great movement, and what people need to do, and people come up and say, what can I do? And I say, you need to, first of all, you need to study the issue, and you need to learn the arguments for regulating drugs, and then you need to learn the arguments that people still use, that ideological and that moral argument, because you need to know the arguments against. And then you need to get involved. Then you can pick. A needle exchange program might be the movement you want to get involved in. It might be medical marijuana. Or of course you might want to jump on board with an organization like Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, where we believe legalize, regulate, legalize. But pick the area that suits you and get involved, because change is not going to come from our leaders. Change never comes from our leaders. I was talking to a minister this afternoon. Even the leaders of your church, change comes from the audience. Change comes from the grassroots. Change comes from us out here in the public. And as we start to realize that something's wrong with the policy, it's then the politicians say, okay, I need to get on board, because they're not going to lead. So learn the issues, get involved, voice your opinion, be knowledgeable, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the front lines against this war on drugs.